Before we start, pause for a second and think about your favorite creator. The one you watched for years. The one whose videos felt like hanging out with a friend. Now imagine finding out that that person, the one you trusted, had been planning something so horrifying, so calculated, that it would change everyone who ever subscribed to them. This is that story. And the worst part? He told you it was coming. Right there, in the title of his last video. And nobody caught it in time. It's 2006. The internet is still figuring itself out. YouTube is barely a year old. And somewhere in Waller, Texas, a quiet, awkward 17-year-old kid is sitting in his bedroom, staring at his camera, about to press record for the first time. He calls himself Mr. Anime. And honestly, he's kind of charming, a little nerdy, the type of guy who's got opinions about everything, which anime is underrated, which video game is criminally overlooked, which movie everybody slept on. He's not the coolest kid in school. He's never been the popular one. But on camera, he finds something he can't find anywhere else. A voice, an audience, a place where being different is actually the point. Over the next 5 years, he grinds, video after video, skits, reviews, ratings, debates. He brings his brother on sometimes, his friends, props he bought at dollar stores. Nothing fancy, nothing polished, just a kid from Texas talking about the things he loves. And people respond to that. By 2011, he's got over 300 videos uploaded and nearly 25,000 subscribers. For a niche anime review channel, that's not nothing. That's a community. But here's what his subscribers didn't know. Here's what they couldn't see through the screen. Somewhere between those videos, something in him was shifting. Something quiet and dark was taking root. And by the time anyone noticed, it was already too late. Let's talk about who Mr. Anime actually was off camera, because there were two versions of this guy, and the version his fans saw, that wasn't the whole picture. His real name was Trey Eric Sesler, and in real life, Trey was struggling. He dropped out of college. He was working part-time as a pizza delivery driver, living at home with his parents, arguing with his dad almost constantly about getting a real job, a steady income, a plan. His dad wanted structure. Trey wanted YouTube. But the conflict with his dad, that was the smallest of the problems. Because over those same 5 years, Trey had developed a fascination that went way beyond anime. He had accumulated at least 6 firearms and a significant amount of ammunition. He'd started incorporating gun demonstrations into his YouTube channel, talking about weapons the same way he used to talk about anime. Casually, knowledgeably, like it was just another hobby. And then it got darker. Trey began researching serial killers, mass shootings, Columbine specifically, and he didn't just read about them, he started rating them, grading them on their effectiveness, on whether they met their goals. He was treating real murders like they were anime episodes to be scored. He started setting fires, in the woods near his house, in vacant buildings. He'd shoot his guns at empty structures. He began hurting small animals. And in his final videos, the last ones before everything collapsed, you can see it. If you know what to look for, his eyes behind those dark sunglasses, his voice is slower, heavier. He mentions he hasn't been sleeping, that he's been having chest pain, shortness of breath, back pain. My eyes are a little swollen. That's why I'm wearing these sunshades. He said it like it was nothing, like it was just a rough week. It wasn't a rough week. Stay with me here, because this is where the story gets complicated in a way that most people miss. By early 2012, Trey Sesler had a plan, a real one, documented, calculated, chilling. He wanted to go to the local high school, the one he had attended, and commit a mass murder. His stated goal was to kill at least 70 people. 70. But here's the detail that stops you cold when you first hear it. Trey didn't want his family to suffer the shame of what he was going to do. He cared about what this would do to them. And instead of letting that care pull him back on the edge, he used it as justification to go further. If his family wouldn't be alive to feel the shame, then they wouldn't have to suffer. So he made a decision. He would kill them first, before the school, before the mass shooting. He would eliminate the people he claimed to love, so they would never have to live with what he'd done. He posted one final video on his channel, titled it, "Mr. Anime is planning something." He told his fans he was taking a 2 to 3 week break, and then he posted one more video, a goodbye. He thanked his subscribers, thanked them for 4 or 5 years of support. His tone was almost warm, almost normal. If you didn't know, you'd think he was just going on vacation. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. That was March 2012. On the night of March 18th, 2012, Trey Sesler put his plan into motion. He retrieved one of his guns, took it into the garage, set it down, then went back into the house to find his mother, Kimberly. He told her there was something in the garage she needed to look at. She went with him, and when she did, he picked up the gun and shot her. Kimberly Sesler died in her own garage. Then Trey put the gun down and went back into the house. His brother, Marcus, heard the noise. He came into the hallway, asked what happened. Trey didn't say a word. He walked past Marcus, went to his own room, picked up a pistol, came back, 2 shots. Marcus ran, locked himself in the bathroom. Their father, Roger, woke up to the sound of Trey kicking at the bathroom door. He called out from the bedroom, "What is going on out there?" Trey went to the bedroom, shot his father. Roger Sesler died. Then Trey returned to the bathroom and fired through the door. Marcus Sesler, his own brother, died on the other side of that door. 4 people lived in that house that night. Only one walked out. What happened next is something investigators found both haunting and deeply confusing, because after the killings, Trey didn't leave. He didn't run. Instead, he picked up a black marker, and he started writing on the walls. "I love my mom, dad, and brother. Why did I do this? I will never forgive myself." He wrote those words on the walls of the house where he had just killed 3 members of his family, and then he loaded a rifle into his car and drove toward the high school. This is the part that raises questions that don't have clean answers. Trey Sesler arrives at the high school parking lot. He sits there. He waits. His goal, 70 people. The plan he's been building for months. The reason he told himself his family had to die. And he doesn't go in. Why? We don't know for certain what happened inside that car during those minutes. But what we do know is that sometime after arriving, Trey called 911 himself. He turned himself in. Before a single shot was fired at that school, he told the dispatcher what he had done at home. He waited for law enforcement to arrive. Now, here's where you have to sit with the complexity of this. Because on one hand, those children at that school are alive today because Trey didn't go inside. On the other hand, 3 innocent people, his mother, his father, his brother, were already gone. When investigators processed the crime scene at the Sesler home, the writing on the walls became one of the most analyzed pieces of evidence. Was it genuine remorse? A psychological break? A performance? Criminologists who reviewed the case noted that the combination of meticulous planning alongside what appeared to be immediate guilt created a profile that was genuinely unusual. This wasn't someone who felt nothing. This was someone who felt everything, and did it anyway. His YouTube videos were also pulled, every single one. Investigators went through hundreds of uploads, looking at the evolution, looking for the moment the shift happened. And what they found was a slow, documented deterioration, in plain sight, uploaded voluntarily, available to anyone who wanted to see. Thousands of people had watched those videos. Nobody called anyone. Here's what makes this case linger in a way that most true crime cases don't. Trey Sesler's YouTube channel wasn't secret. It wasn't some dark corner of the internet. It was a regular, public, searchable channel with a genuine fan community. People who commented, people who subscribed, people who waited for his uploads. And in his final videos, the warning signs were visible. The obsession with weapons, the serial killer ratings, the increasingly heavy energy, the sunglasses hiding swollen eyes, the admission that he wasn't sleeping, wasn't healthy, wasn't okay. The video titled "Mr. Anime is Planning Something," uploaded days before the murders, sat there publicly on YouTube. Nobody flagged it. Nobody reached out to authorities. And this raises a question that extends far beyond Trey Sesler. How many times have we watched someone deteriorate online and assumed it was just a persona? How many times have we scrolled past the signs because we told ourselves they're just being edgy? It's content. It's a bit. Trey Sesler's case became one of the early landmark examples in discussions about online radicalization, mental health deterioration, and platform responsibility. Before the term algorithm was part of everyday conversation, before we understood what it meant for someone to build an identity entirely online, and what happens when that identity starts to fracture, his subscribers mourned him in a strange and complicated way. Not the killer, but the person they thought they knew. The anime kid from Texas who made them laugh. That person was real too. That's the part that's hardest to sit with. Trey Eric Sesler was charged with 3 counts of murder. In 2013, he pleaded guilty. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was 23 years old. At sentencing, there was no dramatic courtroom moment, no outburst. Trey Sesler sat quietly and accepted the sentence. Family members of the victims, who were also his family, a detail that complicates grief in ways that are almost impossible to articulate, spoke about the loss of Roger, Kimberly, and Marcus Sesler. 3 people who had done nothing wrong, who had housed him, fed him, argued with him the way families argue, because that's what families do. Kimberly, his mother; Roger, his father; Marcus, his brother. Gone. And somewhere in a Texas prison, Trey Sesler, Mr. Anime, lives with the knowledge of what he did, with the words he wrote on those walls. Why did I do this? Nobody has a clean answer. Investigators, psychologists, true crime analysts, nobody can point to one singular cause. It was depression, isolation, access to weapons, online obsession, untreated mental illness, a growing disconnect from reality. It was all of it, layered together, building slowly over years while the world watched and hit subscribe. The school was never attacked. Those students went home that day. That part of his plan failed. Or maybe, at the last moment, some fragment of the person he used to be refused to go through with it. We'll never fully know. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know we don't do these stories for shock value. We do them because they matter. Because the patterns in these cases, the warning signs, the slow escalations, the moments where intervention was possible, those patterns show up again and again. Trey Sesler's subscribers aren't to blame for what he did, but his story is a reminder that what we see online is always a curated version of a person. And sometimes, not always, but sometimes behind the content is someone who is barely holding on. If you notice someone in your life, online or off, who is escalating, isolating, or showing warning signs, say something to someone. It costs nothing. If this video made you think, share it. If you're new here, subscribe. We cover cases like this every day with the depth they deserve.